You're listening to The Metal Lens. Life, the universe, and everything from a metal point of view.
And here we are.
Oh, here we are again. Christ almighty.
'Tis the season
Hey, ho, ho, ho.
to be sloppy.
Yes. Halfway there already, buddy.
We do a little
Lubrication.
some pre-production stuff.
Yeah.
So we're already a couple of drinks in, so happy, whatever.
Krampus? Right?
So, for those of you who may not know, but I'm assuming that you do know who Krampus is. Lovely holiday festive flavor.
Yes.
So, Merry Krampus.
Yeah, Merry Krampus. If that is indeed the right way. However they say it in, like, Norway or wherever the fuck that comes from.
Most of it's Austrian.
Austrian. Okay.
Yeah, the roots are kind of Austrian. And he's basically the anti-Santa. Santa comes and rewards the little boys and girls for being good. Well, Krampus actually rides along with Santa and punishes bad boys and girls.
Yes. Circle of life.
Yeah,
Balance.
the yang to Santa's yin.
Very nice.
So anyway,
Oh.
I'm fucking excited as shit
Me
because
too.
we've been talking about this for a while.
Yeah.
And I really can't wait to get into it. So without any further ado,
No ado.
we've been talking about doing this, and it took a little minute, but
Yep.
we got it. We wanted to do it before the new year, so we're just going to jump right into it to Troy and Ramon's extremely personal and biased top 40
Biased.
albums of all time.
Right. And I think before we get rolling, even with the numbers in the list, the decision-making process for this list, as Troy already mentioned, is quite biased, quite personal. And, I tried to think of, what's the criteria for best? What does that really mean? You know what I mean? Does that mean the most important in terms of influence over just the metal scene altogether? Does that mean how much did it influence us personally? Does that mean is it just shit that we think sounds good, that we think other people think sounds good? I don't know. It's probably an unconscious combination of all those things rolled into one.
Well, we came to the realization whenever you hear any kind of list of best of this or best of that, well, they're all extremely biased. So
Yeah,
this is
absolutely.
our bias list.
There
Okay,
you go.
these are the albums, the metal albums that we like and
Totally.
enjoy.
Yeah.
And think this is our top 40. It's not your top 40. So
Yeah.
if you agree or don't agree, you could come at and go Krampus yourself. I don't give a fuck.
Exactly. If you don't agree, make your own fucking 40 list.
That's right. And see how easy or hard it is.
Yeah.
And I got to do something real quick.
All right, yeah. So make your own podcast. So Troy, I'm going to go ahead and preempt again before the actual list. Oh, okay. A little bit extra light.
Yeah, we're missing some light, so there's the
The Northern Lights
Krampus.
of Jesus.
Oh, that's better.
And to be, totally inclusive, I mean Jesus as in my uncle. I noticed as we were kind of, dude, I had to kind of geek out a little bit.
Yeah.
As I was running through. I mean, the only data we actually had was the, fairly arbitrary ordering system that we decided. I mean, we put some thought into it. I mean,
Yeah.
we're not saying we just threw this into a hat and pulled numbers out. We put some thought into it. But I mean, to some degree or another.
Actually, I've been working on this list for a long time.
So a lot of credit definitely goes to Troy in terms of coming up with the ideas for this and ordering it, right? And because it's biased, there's no, math behind it. There's the fucking names of the albums, there's the artists themselves, but the release year
Yeah.
is where I found some interesting shit.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and throw this out there right now. Okay, I went ahead. We have 40. It's a top 40 list. I did not include. We have some honorable mentions. I didn't include those. But for what it's worth, the year 1992 seems to be very prominent. All right, so
It was a fine year.
it is apparently it was. And what was going on? I was in my sophomore shit, 92, freshman, sophomore year of like fucking high school or something, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That was like our high freshman,
Well, actually,
junior,
you were,
maybe? I don't know.
You were a year ahead of me, I think, ahead of us.
Yeah.
And I failed once at that point. So I was probably still in 8th or 9th.
92 was, let's see, it goes 90, 95, I graduated, senior, junior, I don't know, whatever. We were little wee lads.
Fuck, I was 14 years old.
Okay.
No, 16. No, 14.
What year were you born?
78.
So then I was 15. I'm just a year older.
Yeah.
Anyway, whatever. The year
Completely
1992.
irrelevant.
It seems to have. All right. So here's for you statisticians and people who give a fuck. People who don't give a fuck, I might put a link below just to kind of skip through this shit. I thought it was interesting. What can I tell you? The range of years, all right? So statistically speaking, the albums that we selected ranged from the year 1970 to 2018, all right? Cool smattering. That's all. It's like 50 years, man.
Yeah, right?
50 years almost. The mean year, and that means like the average, the kind of statistical average. When you put all the numbers together,
And how many were in each year?
Yeah. If you just do the mathematical average, the year was actually 1993, which is interesting. The median, okay, which is like the dead center, is 1992. The mode, and that's the number that strikes me the most. That's the number that came up the most frequently. It was 1992. All right. So, and the standard deviation 8.0, if anybody's interested, 8.065319.275. All right.
Sounds like that Russian number station.
Yeah, no, seriously. So, but the 1992, 1993, seems to be, there's got to be something behind that. This means something, man.
Yeah.
You know, so there's some significance behind that year. I'm not saying necessarily, but probably inclusive to like where we were in life at that time.
Oh, sure.
But also what was being pushed out at the time. And we're going to mention the fucking years here. So pay attention,
yeah, because,
y'all.
I mean, if we were born in the 70s, the highlight year might have been 75 or something. I don't know.
Totally. I mean, it would have been biased in that degree. So there's the function of like what we thought was really good and tasteful and fucking exciting and energetic.
But
and awesome.
I will add this in because I really want to get into this. But I'm going to add this in there real quick. Now, we were like 14, 15, 16 years old in 92. But what was the last one? 2018?
Yeah.
So those large number of albums that we chose in '92 still lasted the test of time all the way till now.
Yeah.
So that I guess that's for something.
There's so much meaning that you can pull from this. I can't believe that this is not being thoroughly investigated.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have an NSF grant, you know, to...
Yeah, give us money so we can study this.
Bullshit. We just want to drink. Anyway, I guess let's go into the last name.
Let's roll, baby.
So before we go into the actual... I know I keep saying, before we get started, you know, the actual... We got to mention... These are the... we got some honorable mentions. The ones that we decided...
We'll hit them after.
You want to hit those afterwards?
Yeah, let's hit them after. Let's start with the 40.
Number 40. All right, let's do that. All right. So, number 40.
Because then people can say, oh, why isn't this an honorable mention?
Yeah, and if anybody... All right, we've got a few on the honorable mention list, and if any of the bands or albums that we don't mention, that we meant... if you think something belongs on the list, like I said, make your own goddamn list.
Please comment so we can not give a fuck about it.
There you go. You know, because I really enjoy reading comments over the holiday season. That's totally going to be my priority. Yeah. All right. So
let's roll.
Number 40, Guns N' Roses, Appetite for Destruction, 1987.
Yeah. And
Jesus.
You know what was so strange about that? I know it's not like death metal or whatever.
Even maybe heavy metal
that was
or whatever.
a fucking killer album from beginning to end. And that's the whole thing of the list. You know, it's not like it's an album that has just a few cool songs to it.
Right.
But it was, I mean, it was pretty raw when it came out. And the thing that blew me away was it was 86. I had no idea it was 86. I could have swore it was like 88, 89.
Oh, the one when it got released?
Yeah. I'm like, man, 86 was that long ago?
86,
But then-
87,
But then
something
when
like
I
that, it
think
was
back
recorded.
about it, it's like 88, 89 was like the Use Your Illusion shit and stuff like that. Wasn't it?
God damn, I can't even remember. I want to say that's 90s, but
So what came before that? I don't remember.
Patience.
Yeah, well, what was that on?
No. Oh wait,
That was Use Your Illusion. It
um,
was two of them. It was Use Your Illusion 1 and 2.
no, there was an album in between those two. The
Oh,
double
it was.
album. GNR Lies.
Oh, Lies, yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah. So, but I mean, dude, and look, everybody had that fucking poster.
Oh God.
You know you did.
Dude, you know you threw enough darts
cross with
to
the
hit
skulls on it.
to
I
hit
had
enough
the fuzzy
balloons
one.
to buy enough mirrors
I had the fuzzy poster with that glue
at
in the
your
dark.
local fair to get those goddamn posters.
Oh yeah,
You had it.
it is a great album.
Yeah, yeah, dude. I mean, they very much. I'm not going to say necessarily were a crossover band, but they were as hard rockin' as rock and roll got at that time.
Look,
there was so much.
If you were into any sort of heavy music, you liked that album.
Dude.
You did. You know you did.
yeah, okay, Zeppelin influence in your face.
Oh yeah.
Fucking probably. Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm not gonna go into this, but I mean, as far as like
They
the
kind of
influences
came
behind
out with
Guns
like
N'
a
Roses,
hair band look, but they didn't sound like a hair band.
no, they're pretty
know?
raunchy, pretty crunchy, pretty raw, and I think that's
Yeah.
well deserving of somewhere on our list. We put them at 40, whatever. It's still a great album. It doesn't matter, but we had to make some kind of priorities, and whatever judgment.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Guns N' Roses, goddamn, that was a provocative album when it
Yeah.
came out, dude. I was listening
People
to that
still
shit
listen to it.
in like what was it, 7th grade, 6th grade, something like that. And dude, I mean, you put one of those songs comes on. I mean, I understand like a lot of that shit's been overplayed.
Oh,
like,
right. Paradise City and
yeah, totally.
My Michelle and.
But I mean, they
But
come on.
you look
the
at all the
radio
other
and-
Mr. Brownstone, Rocket Queen.
Oh god, yeah.
Oh, great, man! It is great.
It's so easy.
It's so easy. Everybody trying to please me, baby.
You had to run and hit the stop button before your gym teacher caught you.
Everybody knows. Everybody knows the words to that whole album. So
Yeah.
let's go. 39.
All right, 39. We got Helmet. Meantime, 1992.
Yeah. So
1992. Ooh.
92. There you go. So like, Helmet has recently kind of. Helmet was kind of strange, band, because like everybody dug the fuck out of them, but they didn't really come down and play here so much. But later on, they did, and when they did, every fucking body went. What fucking Helmet's coming? And the thing about that album is, I mean, you heard it on MTV with Buzz Clip with Ricky Rothman, and that whole fucking album was in Drop D, which was kind of strange at the time, and it was kind of it was just different because it was that heavy grungy drop tuning guitar with these kind of singing regular normal voice vocals, and it just melded together so. And I tell you one thing about Helmet that I always really liked, and they always stayed true to this, is when they did like these little solos. The solos were always nonsense, and it was just noise, fucking just nonsense.
Yeah.
And I always loved that about their
Yeah.
songwriting.
There's something about the presence of solos while kind of minimizing the solos, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it was at no means a forefront piece of work, like Guns N' Roses. Well,
Yeah.
Slash did pieces of work when he did solos. This was just nonsense crap,
Yeah,
but it was good.
And one band that I think kind of did that later on, and they're on the list. We'll get to that. Is Meshuggah. They kind of did this sort of like minimization of solos, but still they knew how to solo kind of thing going on.
Yeah,
and the guys
yeah.
and then your boy from Helm, what was his name?
Page something or other.
Hamilton, Page, I don't know. But dude, the dude was like a legit. I mean, from what I remember, he was like like a trained jazz guitarist, or he was in
Yeah.
school or something like that. I mean, the dude was legit and had the talent to put out something. And that's the funny thing to me is when you have the talent to put out something, and you have the ability to put something out or to record something and perform something that is very technical, very advanced, very complex, but you still do something that's really raw and to some extent minimal. I think, and to have it sound
Yeah.
good.
And
You know, I think that's kind of-
those drop D riffs were just so tasty.
Yeah.
It's
tasteful. Absolutely.
And speaking of being tasteful,
Yeah.
is the fucking drummer.
Uh-huh.
That fucking dude. I mean, that dude is an absolute monster. Mm-hmm. But you couldn't really tell because he wasn't flashy. He did everything tasteful.
Yeah.
And then later albums like in Betty and Aftertaste, he pulled off some shit like, Jesus, did you hear that? But there was like one part and one song in the whole album. And later he played in Tomahawk with Dave Grohl, or was it Dave Grohl? I don't remember. But
Yeah, I think I might have been. Yeah.
but anyway, the drummer was phenomenal in that band too. It was a
Hell
great album.
Right on.
39.
39. Helmet means I'm. All right, so moving up to 38.
Yeah.
Corrosion of Conformity. Six songs with Mike singing.
This is
1985.
extremely personal and biased on my part.
Go for it.
To put
man.
it in there.
Yeah.
Because, like, you know, Corrosion of Conformity has spanned many, 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 many decades. And they probably got, I don't know, fucking Jesus, 30 fucking albums or something. And they...
I
they
gotta interrupt. I think they're about to put out another one.
oh, great.
Or maybe they're going to...
Yeah.
No, it's another recording.
Yeah, and I don't think there's any original members.
Pepper might be on this one. I have no idea.
Yeah, and I don't think Pepper was in this.
No, absolutely not. No.
So that I don't think there's any original members of that band. So of course they changed drastically.
Yeah.
This is 6 songs with Mike. You can find it now. It was very hard to find for a long time. When did that come out?
85.
85.
Yeah.
85. So you can imagine the punk scene up the East Coast. This was it. You know, they were right in the middle of that shit. So it was really difficult to find for a long time. I had a cassette of it, and I don't remember how I got it, but Mike Dean was just a fucking monster on that fucking album. The vocals and the bass, the tone was this mid-rangey kind of punchy thing, and just playing these fast, raw punk songs with his fingers, just and it was just fucking incredible. And the vocals were so good, so good, and so it the original came out with, it was actually a live picture of Mike up there with like some, like, I guess it was on like a kind of stage thing with some kids around and stuff playing live.
Yeah.
You can find it now. It's a white background with a red Corrosion of Conformity skull.
Yeah.
And then it'll have like, 6 songs with Mike. I think it actually has a song like Eye for an Eye, What, and Negative Outlook, and all the different song titles around it. But extremely, extremely influential in my musical progression as into adulthood and playing music as a whole.
Yeah.
Because originally I started out, I was big into punk, Minor Threat and Exploited and all that stuff. But I mean, there was something about this album that was just, it was so raw, and his vocals were so good, and the bass was so good. I mean, it was pretty much everybody else was supporting him, kind of, and typically that's what you had with a lot of the punk bands back in the day. Like the Exploited had the bass player and the drummer. Black Flag had Henry and the guitar player, Greg Ginn. You had Minor Threat had the guitar player and the singer, Ian. They had like these 1 or 2 things that really stuck out. Like the Exploited, the drums were really good, which was kind of uncommon for a lot of punk bands. They were kind of in the back and they sounded shitty. But in the Exploited, the drums sounded really good, and they were done well. For this, it was all bass and drums. And, of course, that's what I'm doing now, so maybe that was an early influence on that. I don't know, but... 6 Songs with Mike, which is the first, I believe, the very first production recording of COC. That's
Okay.
it. You don't go any further back than 6 Songs with Mike. That's when COC started. That was it.
That
Boom.
predates Technocracy?
Oh, yeah,
Technocracy?
absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
It predates Technocracy.
Fucking right.
Yeah.
Something about the rhythm there. All right. That was 38, Corrosion Conformity. All right, so moving up to 37. This was a bit of my pick. Cynic, Traced in Air, 2008. Yeah, this album. So, a word about Cynic. I'm going to tell you the story that I told you. You know, when I was listening to a lot of fucking death metal bands, picking up albums in the early 90s and stuff.
What year was this? 2008.
Well, this album came out in 2008. Okay. But I was picking up whatever. I was listening to Deicide. I was listening to Obituary. I was listening to fucking Morbid Angel. I was listening to a lot of bands that kind of came out of the Southeast, out of the Florida scene, you know? I mean, go figure. They hit us pretty easily after they were released. Geographically, we're close. So anyway, I started to notice, like, yeah, man, everybody started to like really, thanks on the thank you list. Thanks to this dude. Something from Kelly from Atheist, Paul from Cynic. Huh? Wow, Paul from Cynic. He must be a really popular dude. That band must be really awesome. I had not listened to them.
Yeah. So every album you pick up, you look at the thanks list, and Paul from Cynic is in there.
Guns N' Roses. Thanks, Paul from Cynic.
Right.
Years before they even became a band. Anyway, so, eventually I listened to their first album, and that was Focus. And that came out in the early 90s. It didn't make the list. It was progressive. It was heavy. It had some interesting shit that they were doing with the vocals, running it through like a vocoder. So they had traditional death metal screams, growls, and then they had this melodic thing going on, but it was kind of robotic sounding, very strange, very interesting. They had some songs with some clean parts, still obviously very avant-garde, kind of progressive in its influence and stuff. Pretty significant album,
Yeah.
And then they did nothing. They did a couple things through maybe a side project or two, and they released a couple tracks and stuff. But for like damn near a decade, they just kind of toured a little bit and then just kind of went about and did their own thing. Their drummer went and played for Death for a little bit. Their bass player went and did a few other acts. I think he played with Death for a little bit. They went and he did. I think he might have been involved with the Liquid Tension Experiment, and I think. Jesus, what is the name of that? Malone, I think his name was.
Karl Malone, the basketball player?
No, but it's somebody else. I can't think of the name of the act right now. But anyway, then they came together and they did 2008 Traced in Air. And since then, I think they released one or two other albums that became even more progressive, even more ethereal, even more distant from the metal genre. And so I kind of figured Traced in Air was kind of a middle point. That was like where they definitely did a split from the heavier stuff to the atmospheric, melodic, progressive stuff. And Traced in Air, I think, was just like that nice little sweet spot where they came back and they said, here's where we are now. Here's where we take where we've gone. We're going to make a very, very noticeable statement here. We're going to put out this album, and it is a great album.
Yeah, and I had not listened to Cynic. I missed them for whatever reason, and they're very progressive, and that was kind of the beauty part. And we're going to say this probably over and over again tonight. But, because when we're going through this list, we go back and listen to these albums too, And so I'm like, Cynical, I never really... So I started listening to it, and it's really progressive. It's like, it's kind of... I don't want to say so much Dream Theater-ish, but it certainly has elements of that as to the effect that you could tell that every musician and that band is like a virtuoso. It's just really technical, tasteful, amazing shit.
Yeah.
And the whole feel, and that's the whole thing about it, is because I actually found myself just listening to it as I was driving, and it's just it's Traced in Air. It's a really good name for that album because it is pretty airy.
Yeah.
And it's very ethereal, and it just kind of goes, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, it's got textures to it.
Yeah.
Gordian Knot, by the way, was the name of the act that I think the bass player, he went on and played bass, and Chapman Stick, I think, with Gordian
I
Knot.
got my balls in a Gordian knot.
You know what? There's
Once.
treatment for that,
Yeah.
and that's okay. That's okay. Anyway, yeah. So Cynic, Traced in Air, pick it up, please, if you haven't already. It's got some really
Enjoyable.
cool shit to it.
It's very enjoyable.
Yeah. And a fair representative of Cynic. And I'm also going to go ahead and say, like, a lot of what we decided we got some great bands on this list,
Yeah.
okay, who have many great albums. And sometimes we picked the albums that were innovative. Sometimes we picked albums that were just cream of the crop. But sometimes we also picked albums that were sort of like, this is where they kind of hit their apex.
Yeah,
Their peak,
and mind
if you
you,
will.
it's not, oh, well, this band, they had like 3 or 4 really good songs on this album. No. We're looking at albums the way I've always looked at albums, is a complete piece of work from beginning to fucking end.
Absolutely. And we did our best.
We can almost make another honorable mention at the end, which we didn't. But like Pungent Stench, Forgot You Sold It For Me, so I love that album. But the production was weird. The last 3 songs were mixed somewhere else, and it didn't flow quite the whole thing, so it didn't make the fucking list. Really like that album. Still listen to it today.
Yeah.
But
Sorry, Pungent Stench.
it's a whole body of different album, not songs, album from beginning to end.
Right. Moving on. Number 36. Margaritaville by Jimmy Buffett.
It's my own damn fault.
So
we got?
All right. Number 36. We got Gorefest. False. 1992. All right. This... Dude. Look, I've been listening to... dude, they're not the sexiest band in death metal. All right?
No. See, like I remember Gorefest. I don't remember this particular album,
All right.
but I certainly remember the band because, and Gorefest was shit like you'd be talking to your buddy and you're like, dude, you want to hear the sickest shit I ever heard? Yeah, and he would hand you a tape of Gorefest.
Dude.
That's how that went down.
There's several albums on that list that are like that are just like yeah, let me just stop you for a second here and hand you this shit, and you're gonna go home and you're gonna listen to that and you're gonna shit and you're gonna come back to me and you're gonna thank me, you're gonna blow me, or you're gonna fucking shoot me. All right. I never shot anybody.
Yeah.
Anyway, Gore. I never did. No, I didn't. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Wouldn't make you good.
Yeah.
Gorefest false.
Gorefest, false. So this band, they're like Danish or whatever the fuck. They, I don't know, whatever, European up north.
Where it's cold.
So, all right. So the thing about Gorefest is there's something about them.
Yeah.
Man, the music is not overly complex, but sometimes it is. The music is, it's not really fast or technical, but sometimes it is. And they seem to just kind of get their point across. They seem to be like riding this wave where they'll put some stuff out, even within an album, but also across albums, where they'll continue to just sort of capture my attention and keep me going. Like, oh man, Gorefest, I don't know, man, that's, oh shit, okay, yeah, that's Gorefest. All right, yeah, rock on. So the thing about them is they've got like an excellent guitar sound, an excellent production on just like aesthetic altogether. Their vocalist, he plays bass as well. Their vocalist is probably one of my, I would probably say, top 5 best fucking death metal vocalists, EVER. The dude's got this roar. He's this skinny little fucking
Roar.
dude. And I mean, listen to False, all right? There's a little intro. Roar! And it's literally, he just says roar. Okay? He says roar. And it sounds like the winds of hell have been unleashed upon you. He's a little thin dude, and the dude's got fucking Lou Ferrigno's nuts backing his voice up, dude. It's insane.
It gets all up in your gits.
And I've heard him. He's done guest vocals. One of the most prominent examples of that was he did guest vocals in what was it? It was Benediction, Wrong Side of the Grave. Which is a cover of Exploited. It's a cover song. Is it Celtic Frost? Maybe, but it's a cover song that Benediction did. Wrong Side of the Grave.
I was going to say Dark Throne, but
no, it's not Dark Throne. It's another fucking older band. Shit. Anyway, he comes across like they will come. Oh, the rocks out of the grave, and he just does this voice, and it's kind of distinct, but also distinct in its own brutal way. Every album that he does, he's just got these nuts.
One of the best true death metal vocalists of that era.
The dude sounds like he's ready to just bite your whole head off.
The dude from Broken Hope.
Up.
Nah,
dude, he's just got that roar.
He's got that, yeah.
Not to mention that the fucking musicianship is excellent. It's tight, it's on point, it's fucking heavy. It's not always the fastest, but the riffs that they come across, that they write, everything comes across as just being very simple but tasteful. Melodic, but not like too tangential, just heavy, solid. This album is one of the finest examples of that. You know, they got other albums with other songs that are a little bit more technical, but Gorefest False, start to finish, it is just, it's brutal and thick and heavy, and it's going to punch you in the nuts. If you listen to that album, please don't hold me responsible, because you will be injured.
Speaking of tasteful,
this
is... God, I wish I could tell y'all what this is.
Yeah.
This is in my Alaska mug. It's very nice.
Alaska. As they say in Alaska.
What's next?
Next, number 35. And I'm going to go ahead and point this out. Like, we're already like 30 minutes in. We might have to split this up into a couple different episodes. We'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah. Anyway, number 35, Napalm Death, Scum, 1987.
And I know what you're saying. It should probably be higher. But this isn't a complete death metal list. It's a metal list. So, like, you got metal, and then you get all the subgenres. Doom's in there. Heavy metal's in there, rock and roll's in there,
it's
death. It's all in there. Okay, so it's not just strictly a death. If it was strictly a death metal or grindcore list or something like that, it would be much higher. Okay, it probably would be. But you got to look at how influential this fucking album was.
Yeah.
And the thing I always keep thinking about was like how that fucking thing opens. 1, 2, 3, 4. Click, click, click. It's like. And it's like, it was so retarded. And so, it's like, why would you do 1, 2, 3, 4 and then do drum clicks and then have a guitar intro to start the song? Well, because fuck you, that's why.
Exactly. Ask Napalm Death.
Because fuck you, that's why.
Yeah.
Says the guy who invented this machete slingshot.
And the whole thing was I mean, provocation.
I mean, can we talk about blast beats for a minute?
I think we can.
I think that's I don't know of any earlier offerings of grinds and blast beats.
No, God, maybe Repulsion might have done something. I don't know, man. You know, the origin of the blast beat is a topic that we're absolutely not going to cover here.
When we were
much less tonight.
14, 15 years old. That's the first time we heard it. Mm-hmm. So it's the first time I heard it. It's new to me.
There you go. I will.
And it was that album.
Yeah, the first time I heard of Napalm, the first time I heard of Blast Pete was Napalm Death. Wasn't actually this album. I actually wound up picking this album up from what was that shopping center up in Houston, the Galleria, some music store in the Galleria up in Houston, I think it was.
When the fuck were you in Houston?
Like 1990, 91 maybe.
What the fuck was that?
Here? Elsewhere?
No, it was here.
No, I went on a field trip at school. We went up to Astroworld.
Oh, okay, Astroworld.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
A lot of schools down here do that.
Yeah, we went to Astroworld. Fuck, I don't even know if that's around anymore, dude.
Nah, I don't think so.
Yeah, all right. We went to Houston, went to Galleria. I'm like, oh, yeah. I picked up Napalm Death Scum and another album that is on the honorable mention list.
Because at that time, at that moment in time, no one could tell you no.
Exactly. parental such and such. There's no parents here.
I'm going to pick up this album.
But the great thing is there was no parental lyrics or anything like that, no explicit, because no one can understand what the fuck they were saying.
Right.
So, fucking metal, man. Anyway, shit, dude. This was, okay, yeah, technically speaking, not the very first recording that Napalm Death ever did. It was the first, I guess, major release through Earache. As far as like commercial release,
like,
until you started digging into like underground stuff and demos and stuff like that.
What was it, like 30,
first,
like 35 1-minute songs?
Pretty
Something
much,
like that?
yeah. It was like 150 songs, and it was like 20 minutes long. Now, it was two sides. The first side was oh my god, it was Nick Bullen on bass and vocals. I think they had the same drummer, Jim Whitley, on bass, and then the B side was the same drummer. I'm talking about Mick Harris, Mick Harris, and then they had Bill Steer on guitar. I think Bill Steer was on that one, and Lee Dorian on vocals, and that was sort of like the classic lineup. Yeah. Dude, this band, if I have to tell you how influential Napalm Death has been, and ever shall be on the face of metal and grindcore, then eat a bag of shit, because you're not here to learn anything.
Big steamy bag of shit.
Napalm Death will always be one of my, if not my very favorite band. But this album is raw. This album is provocative. This album is, I mean, dude, You Suffer. Still, as far as I know, holds the record for the shortest song at like 1.3 seconds or something.
That's
like
right.
Ridiculous. And the funny thing is, they still do that live.
Yeah.
And they catch you by surprise, and you know what? They pull it off really well.
And it's all just because fuck you.
Dude.
And I think that's a lot of the allure to it.
That's what I'm saying.
Just because, why? Because fuck you.
Dude.
That's why.
Everything that they represent.
That's what metal's about, man.
Dude, in terms of like the message that they're trying to convey, comes across in the extremity and the provocative nature of the music that they do. Fucking right, Napalm Death Scum. Can I tell you a quick story?
Sure.
About the album? Dude, so I picked up the tape. It was an original run. You gotta understand, when Earache put out their albums, they did like an original press, and then I think they did like a re-release, which I don't even think was remastered. It was just re-released later on in time. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I had an original tape. I think I had like a re-release version of the CD, and I wanted to get an original release of the CD. Mm-hmm. And my buddy Adam, Hamburger, Adam.
Oh yeah, of course.
Burger. He was like, I was like, dude, please keep an eye on eBay. Hook me up if you see one. He's like, no problem. He hooked me up.
If any motherfucker could find someone on the internet, it's that dude.
This was before Katrina. So he got me an album and said, dude, bless you, paid him, got it. Dude, original long box CD, purple. Okay, in the original
really?
purple run of Napalm Death Scum, still wrapped in cellophane. All right, this is my pride possession. All right, and then of course Katrina happened. All right, go back to the house. Got my face mask on. I'm digging through my rubble. I find my bullshit. I find some CDs. I bleach my CDs because I think they still kind of stink.
Yeah,
but
I was able to save a few for the time, but they didn't last.
Nah, dude, 10, 15, 20 maybe.
Yeah, they didn't last.
But dude, up on there on the front lawn, lo and behold, there it was, my original. So I'm like, oh god damn, dude, I can't believe it. But like, it's still intact. Let me try. Plastic, whatever, it didn't matter. The cardboard long box was just falling apart. The plastic case, okay, yeah, the paper obviously falling apart, same thing. But I mean, I think that was just enough protection to prevent the CD from degrading at all. And dude, I don't have the box, I don't have anything but the CD. Still, the CD itself intact, still at my house.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
It is there. So, if anybody has another copy of the original long box, purple original run, still wrapped in cellophane, yeah.
Please contact the
Hit me up,
Metal Ends
please.
podcast, and we'll give you an address to send it. Thank you.
Yes. And we'll send you like a pedophore or something.
Yeah, I'll give you a Cap Sazakuza. I have a lot of them.
There you go. Napalm Death Scum. God damn it. Number 34. Finally. Ministry. Dude, we got a long way to go.
Psalm 69.
Psalm 69. 1992.
Yeah.
Fucking right, dude.
Absolutely the apex of Ministry.
One, dude.
And when that came out, everybody fucking loved it because Ministry did a little thing different. It was kind of like techno kind of metal. And I don't know if anybody really understood Jorgensen or whatever.
Al Jorgensen.
Al Jorgensen.
Yeah.
But that album was just fucking great. I mean, you had Jesus Built My Hot Rod, TV2,
yes,
New World Order, Just One Fix. Just One Fix was the shit, dude. When that came out, I was like, fucking right. That was just a great album.
Yeah.
And like all these albums, it's fucking great from beginning to end. It was a whole piece of work, and it was just fucking great. It was good.
Dude, a word about fucking industrial music. I'm a bit of a fan of industrial music, kind of. I will say that, I'll say it now, I'll say it again, Killing Joke, one of my favorite bands ever. Thank you, Mike Dalrymple. But like that band, very much, if they didn't define and help set the stage, they got the ball rolling.
And at that time, you had one other one worth mentioning was Godflesh.
Godflesh didn't appear, but you know what? I think a lot of people could very easily argue that Godflesh does belong on this list.
It'll get an honorable mention.
Yeah, we'll get an honorable mention. Ministry, I mean, the fucking sound, it is not as thick as it is just fucking heavy and sharp and piercing and cutthroat.
Like TV2.
Oh.
Like you listen to it, you're like, what the fuck? How is this possible? Is this like completely electronic? Or is the guitar player really playing that riff?
That's a real guitarist.
What the fuck is going on here? It was just, you just didn't know what was going on. But it sounded awesome.
I can't remember his name, but that's a real guitarist. That's a live guitarist. The dude died like about 5 years ago, a few years ago. But he played in a few other bands. I can't remember.
Oh, yeah, but when you listen to it, you're like, what the fuck?
Well, dude, it's all the electronic drums.
Yeah.
The sort of like the sterile electronic production to it.
Well, you knew the drums were inhumanly
right.
That no human could do that.
Well, I mean, I guess they could, but I mean,
I don't know.
It
wouldn't sound like that.
It sounds otherworldly, but I mean, I think that's part of this album. This album is very politically motivated. You know, it came about like it was during the Bush administration, like just in response to the Gulf War. Like I said,
New World Order.
And you know what? 1992.
New World Order.
Maybe the reason that maybe the reason that so many albums came from that because it was a response to the Gulf War, dude. That was a fucking provocative war, man. It was meaningful.
Yeah.
To our generation, at least.
It was our Vietnam, kind of.
Yeah, it was. Speaking of war.
Yeah.
Moving on to number 33. Bolt Thrower.
See, this is the album.
The Fourth Crusade.
And I
1992.
remember this. I remember this very specifically with Sean. And I remember Sean coming up to me because we used to hang out because Joe lived right across the street.
Oh, yeah.
And that was that corner on Valmore where we all lived.
Yep.
And we would hang out there all the time. And I remember Sean coming up to me one night going, "Dude, take this cassette."
Yeah.
That's what we had back then. This was before CDs.
Right.
"Take this, put this in your car, give it back to me, and thank me later." It was one of those tapes that you pass off to like,
Yep.
"You'll thank me later. Put this in your car and listen to it."
Yep.
And it was that album.
Yep.
It was Bolt Thrower, The Fourth Crusade.
Dude. Oh, Bolt Thrower. So Bolt Thrower goes, they reach just about as far back as Napalm Death does.
And another thing that has to be made has nothing to do with the music, but the fucking best goddamn cover artwork known to man.
Oh, dude,
they just had the fucking best cover art ever.
So I believe that
no matter who you are, when you saw a Bolt Thrower album, you picked it up and looked at it because this is the coolest shit ever.
Well, dude, if you're a Warhammer 40K player,
right,
you'll know that first of all, the guys in Bolt Thrower clearly played Warhammer, but I think they used the same artist, if not like picked up the same artwork from the 40K. Whoever he was who
when
put
did
all
that
that
come
shit. 1992, motherfucker. So
Go
the
figure.
the thing about Bolt Thrower is obviously everything is like war based. Okay,
Yeah.
of course they're gonna put an album in response to the Gulf War.
did.
This album was
Metal
fucking
war.
Oh my god,
You see how it just war and metal just
dude! It
just fits so nicely.
It taps into the very essence of like what makes metal.
Yeah.
What made it come about to begin with, dude? It was a response to fucking social tumultuous.
They had other good albums too, but Fourth Crusade.
Fourth Crusade to me. Okay, so the reason that I picked that one was because I don't know, man. It was
War Master.
really well organized. Yeah, War Master. I mean, the total Warhammer. The cover art for this one had like, I think that it was from a painting, and it was like the entrance of Constantinople, and the entrance of somebody into Constantinople. I don't know. It was some dude probably during the Fourth Crusade. I don't know, but it was an album that start to finish, it was very consistent.
It involved
very
swords
heavy.
and killing people.
It was the guitar sound. I mean, I cannot praise the guitar sound enough.
Yeah.
Bolt Thrower in the Fourth Crusade just had one of the most premium fucking metal guitar
Which was
sounds
interesting to me because,
I can't explain it.
When Cannibal Corpse and that wave came through, it was the guitars were so heavy and the guitars were so heavy.
Right.
But they it's like they were kind of good about, like, they knew where their tone should be, and it sat right and it sat perfect.
Dude, the Fourth Crusade was a great album.
Yeah.
And it ended beautifully, and the guitar sound was just so thick. The production was wonderful in that album, in my opinion. That's why that one made the list.
Yeah.
Yeah. Moving on down to number 32, Sadus, A Vision of Misery, 1992. Dude,
So
Sadus, it kind of a crossover band. It was kind of thrash, death metal ish.
it's my favorite thrash because I guess I like my thrash a little death metal-y.
Okay.
But more importantly for me was Steve DiGiorgio, of course.
Steve DiGiorgio.
And I don't know if we put Sadus in there again. I think they're in the honorable mentions.
They're in honorable mention.
But there's A Vision of Misery, and then there's Elements of Anger.
Yeah.
I'm a little more partial to Elements of Anger because that was the first Sadus album I've heard. But either way, both albums they're almost identical. Honestly, the way their sound and the way they wrote the songs, they're almost identical albums to me. Really,
The thing that I like about Sadus, at least about this album in particular, is their guitar tone was the overall production, actually, now I'm thinking about it, was very reminiscent of Rust in Peace.
yeah.
I mentioned that album for a reason, but no, it's a genuine comparison. There's something about the production where the drums very tight sounding, the guitars not overly saturated, heavy, not overly thick, not overly saturated, but kind of to the point. You can tell that it's a distorted guitar, but that's it. And yet it still comes across as very heavy. I love the production of this album.
Well, and that's a good point, because that was the problem with metal, and we've discussed this at Odd Ends with the fucking Justice for All.
Oh, yeah.
When it comes to guitar tone and bass, and I'm partial to this because I'm a bass player. So, but when you have the fucking granddaddy fucking death god of metal bass, as in Steve DiGiorgio, you're gonna leave room for him.
Yeah.
Okay, and he's gonna be heard.
Yeah.
And just like with Mike Dean with the Corrosion of Conformity, guitar players, and I don't want to get into this too much, but they'll get their tone so heavy and scoop their mids. That was the big thing, scoop your mids.
Yeah, guilty.
And so you don't leave room for where the bass is supposed to live. Yeah. So what happened was a lot with Cannibal Corpse. Well, I'm going to go digga 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 digga. Well, that's what the bass sounds like, because that's the only way it can be heard. Because you got to move your EQ hole over to the mid range so you can hear it. Not the case, because the guitars were sitting where they want to sit. The bass had a nice, good, deep bass sound, and you could hear it. And life was good. Fantastic album from beginning to end. The vocalist. He played rhythm guitar, and the vocals were so good. It kind of reminds me a lot of Chuck's vocals. They were high-end screams, but they were very expressive. Oh, yeah, and they were kind of like yelling, but then he would hit those highs.
Yes.
And he would hit them, and when he hit them, it was like, oh, yes, fuck yeah.
It kind of made them stand apart as far as from other thrash acts.
Yeah, it's the way they delivered the vocals, and it was just really good, man.
Fucking Sadus, man. Another band that wound up on many people's thank you lists.
Yeah, right.
Number 31, Brutal Truth Sounds of the Animal Kingdom, 1997.
Yes.
Dude, I have been deliberating whether I'm more of a death metal dude versus a grindcore dude, and Brutal Truth is the reason that I can't make a decision.
Yeah.
They walk that that fine line.
Tremendous vocals.
Oh, tremendous vocals, tremendous everything, dude. Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
And certainly their apex album. Sure.
Okay, so
and the one of the best cover artwork. Of all kinds.
With the gorilla and the UPS dude.
With the businessman morphing over to the gorilla.
So the funny thing is, the business guy, the guy that they chose, was like a UPS delivery driver.
Really?
Yeah. They thought he was like this guy just like loses his shit all the time.
Right.
He's got the great face. Let's go ahead and match him. And so he wound up on with the suit and all that. But thematically speaking, that totally. It came across. The point came across.
And what year did this come out?
1997.
Ah.
Yeah. Now, historically, Brutal Truth came out as more of a death metal sounding grind album, with their first album, Extreme Conditions, Demand Extreme Responses. Then you had, Need to Control, the purple one with the guy with the gun. I can't even remember the name. But I mean, this album, there was definitely this album was a very. I'm not going to say genre defining. It was brutal truth defining. Like,
Yeah.
what they did in this album was
The production was really good.
production was just raw and dirty and just sick sounding, and it was so influential. The songs were perfect. I don't know what to tell you. The songs are perfect.
Too. Yeah.
They did exactly what they had to do. Brutal Truth pulled it across, and they did one album since, like, fairly recently, but and it was a great album. But that is like the pinnacle of brutal truth.
Yeah, maybe a band that might have slipped through the cracks because Napalm Death and Suffocation and all of those type of bands, they were kind of similar and kind of fit in that kind of little niche. Mm-hmm. So, but and it really, if you haven't listened to that album, check it out. It's really good.
Yeah, and if you haven't already, why are you listening to us?
Yeah, right.
To be honest. Number 30, Pantera, Reinventing the Steel.
Yes.
Yes. Year 2000.
So that came out in 2000.
2000, yeah.
Now, originally, I was a big Pantera fan.
Mm-hmm.
Because when they come out, the Cowboys from Hell was and then they hit a fucking home run with Vulgar Display of Power.
Yeah.
And then Broken, and then the other out, just Southern Tranquil, okay. And it was just, to me, it was a beautiful, beautiful choice for album name, Reinventing the Steel. Because I really, really think that's exactly what the fuck they did when they made this album. Mm-hmm. Fucking Dimebag was just fucking so on point. Every fucking song on there, man. Yesterday Don't Mean Shit, Electric, Hellbound, Rattlesnake. Fucking, they just go. The whole fucking album is really good, and it was kind of at a point when everybody kind of forgot about Pantera and like, okay, they're kind of fading away. But here's one thing about Pantera that Pantera always fucking did. A lot of bands, even a lot of bands on this list, when they come out the gate, when their debut album, they come out hard as fuck and they get softer. Pantera always did the fucking opposite. They got heavier and heavier and heavier and heavier. And if that is another album that slipped through the cracks for you, I'm telling you, I mean, Goddamn Electric, dude. Yesterday Don't Mean Shit, dude. It's just fucking a short little story about Goddamn Electric. I was in, what band was I in? I was in Wiggenhorn, that instrumental band, with a partner, Joe.
All right.
Not the drummer Joe, but guitar player Joe.
Yeah, some other Joe.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Joes out there. A lot of Joes.
And I remember we were in the city for fucking off for some reason. And, you know, when you're full of liquor and listening to that album, there may be a game you might want to play, and there's a big thoroughfare in the city called Canal Street, and there's like 20 fucking lights, intersections. Well, if you time it just right and you go fast enough, you can make it all the way down Canal Street on all green. Which isn't the interesting fact. The interesting fact is when you're playing this album and you're playing that particular song, Goddamn Electric, and they do the breakdown, and the driver jumps in the back seat to form a mini mosh pit in the back seat where I was, and just lets go of the wheel and let metal take its course.
Yes.
And we lived.
Huh.
I'm here. We didn't die.
Listeners, do not try this at home.
But that's the type of shit that album will do to you. When you're drunk and you're in a party atmosphere, it's just fun fucking shit. And it's a really, really, really great album that I think slipped through the cracks for a lot of people. But Pantera's Reinventing the Steel is a fucking grind that axe for a long time. That is another fucking... Every song on that album is fucking great, man. Matter of fact, I was previewing this list with Joseph,
Okay.
And it's like, yeah, dude. And it's like, oh, that's on it. And then, like, I had my phone and we started listening to it and we just fucking jamming to every song on that album. It's fucking, it's what is it, 30?
It's 30, yeah.
That's a good spot for it, man. It's that's a legitimate spot for it.
Okay.
It's a good album, man.
Fucking right, dude. You know, and it's funny how you like kind of brought it down to like the sort of like local, you know, level comparison kind of thing. And a lot of people again are going to argue about the placement of that album.
Oh, fuck you.
Fuck you.
Eat a bag of dicks.
Yeah. Which, hey, you know what? Honorable mention. Eat a bag of dicks.
Yeah, there you go.